Hello and welcome back to another day in the arena. It's me, it's CGB, and today in the arena we're picking up where I left off yesterday when I made a Storytime with CGB episode. It started out as an intent to play this deck, and this deck is a 4-color green list that I got from Arena Deck Lists on Twitter. It's a Twitter channel that retweets deck lists that people post that they made it to Mythic with. I've been at PAX East. I haven't had a lot of time to test any decks or play any decks while I was gone. My editor's done a great job making sure that you get a daily video with content I recorded in addition to my regular content over the last several weeks to make sure that you didn't miss a video for even a day. But now I'm back, and I've got a lot of work to do. I haven't played many decks, and there's some decks from the Invitational I want to play, and there's some other content from the Invitational that I want to share. And just as a reminder, I attended the Invitational as a guest, but I did not play. However, it was great to meet so many streamers and personalities, and perhaps we'll do also another story time with CGB type episode where I talk, just kind of ramble about some of the people I met, some conversations I had with Merchant or Legend VD, LVD. So yeah, some just really great times that were had. Anyway, focusing in, trying to make another gameplay video without talking about it. I'm still a bit buzzed, you might say, from the event and all the excitement of it. It's hard not to talk about it. But this 4-color green list was on the Arena Decklist Twitter. I straight neck decked it. I haven't played with it. It's just going to be something I give a try to. The mana base, I did tweet at the person who posted it and asked about the mana, and they said they just used the lands that they had. So there's probably some improvement that could be made to the mana base, but they said it worked very well, better than they expected. So maybe some of you with a land here and land there are happy to see a deck without 4 of all of the lands. And it's also important to remember, Hadana's Climb produces any color mana, and Incubation Druid produces any mana of a type that a land you control could already produce. So there are some other ways to get the mana you need. The finality side of Find is the only black card. Tristani and Deputy of Detention are the white cards. And in blue, we have Hadana's Climb and the Mighty Hydroid Krasis, as well as Deputy of Detention. Well, let's go play some games. The ranked ladder has reset, so we'll see what happens out there. I think I got kicked all the way back to gold, which I haven't been in a long time. And I did not make Mythic last season. A lot of that had to do with preparing for the Invitational and being at the Invitational. And also just not a very good attitude on my side towards the ladder. I wanted to play a more interesting decks, and I was able to find many better games in both constructive events and traditional than I found on ladder. But I do think that will change going forward. I'm going to make an effort to put up a good showing of getting back to Mythic in the future, for those of you who are worried about that sort of thing. All right, now these games. Let's go play. Our hand has many good things, 2 green sources and 1 of the multicolored sources. Incubation Druid, Biogenic Ooze, Vivian Reed, and Find. It may be slow, and if our Druid dies, it could be a bit tragic. We're on the play, so I will give it a shot. Our opponent picked up some new card sleeves. You'll see a lot of these cosmetics, they're called in these games, where you can get new card backs and you can get 3D art and things of that nature. You won't see them very often from me. I'm going to be honest about that. I'm not into cosmetics very much. Maybe that will change. I'm not sure. At this time, I'm not interested in spending any of my gems, gold, or anything else on card sleeves. Well, our opponent opens up with Runaway Steamkin, which is a very dangerous card, as we've come to know. I think that my best play is a Hadana's Climb, putting a counter on Incubation Druid. Then I can tap it for 3 mana to play the Jadelight Ranger. It also sets up a Finality, which we don't want to attack with our Incubation Druid, by the way, but because this has a counter now, it can tap for 3. And we might want to Finality in the future to clean up all of the red creatures. We drew 2 lands off the Ranger, which isn't bad when we were in danger of missing our next land. Now we'll see what the opponent can do. They may be able to, Lightning Strike the Druid. Do they have another land, though? They do not, so they can't attack and try to trade with the Ranger, which is very fortunate for us. We have a find that can get back an Incubation Druid, put a counter on it, make it able to produce that mana again, but I don't think that's very necessary. At the same time, the only play I have is to put a counter on the Ranger and say go. When the opponent bolts the Ranger, which they most certainly will, then they get to attack with the Steamkin, and it's very bad. I think I am pretty good with this find, so I'm going to play the find, get back the Incubation Druid. I'm going to play the Harbor and cast the Druid, but I'm not going to put the counter on the Druid. I'm going to put the counter on the Ranger so that if the opponent pumps their Steamkin with one spell like they did with Lightning Striking this Druid, I can still block the Steamkin. I can always put the counter on the Druid next turn, and the opponent wants to kill this before it can make mana. Uh-oh, they have the land, they have the Pyromancer, which means they can probably cast several spells this turn with the Steamkin. Here's the attack. I will block, because if the opponent pumps the Steamkin to get rid of the Ranger, now they can't make more mana with the Steamkin, or else it will die. So if they wanted to continue their turn, they would have to suicide their Steamkin. It's nice to get back in the swing of it. I've been away for a week. It's kind of interesting how I have to get my legs back under me, making these videos, making things happen. Here is Biogenic Ooze, and I'm going to put the +1/+1 counter on the token, not on this Ooze, because I know the opponent's very likely to kill it. And there it is. So I know the opponent's going to get rid of that, so putting the token on it would just lose our +1/+1 counter as well. Another Steamkin is not very welcome. And a Wizard's Lightning on the token is brutal. And down to just 12 life, we've got trouble, and the opponent with a follow-up Chain Whirler, just for good measure, to make sure that they have a much better board than we do. Another Jade Light Ranger. It's not the worst draw. So we'll play one of them and see what happens. So I'll keep on top, but then I'm going to bin it. I don't actually want this. I just want my Ranger to have as much toughness as possible. Alright. Second Ranger. Yes, please. Dear God, yes. Alright, now we're going to flip the Climb, but we'll have a 4 toughness Ranger because of it. And the opponent is passing with no attacks, so they did not draw a burn spell. They drew a mountain. That is a mountain if ever I've seen one in somebody's hand. So let's play a 5-power Crassus and get some life back, as well as put a huge body on the board. I'll play this land tapped. I don't want to shock. For certain, I don't want to give my opponent any life. And now we have Llanowar Elves, Vivian Reed, and we can start pumping this Crassus, which is a 2-turn clock. Is that what I want to do? I could play Vivian Reed and plus it instead, or I could activate this on the Crassus, take my opponent to 10, and threaten to kill them next turn. I do believe I like that a lot more. I could also use it on Jade Light Rangers, so then I still have a 5 toughness blocker behind me. If the opponent has a Lightning Strike, do I want them to use it on this Ranger? Let's see what happens. Maybe we can just draw out their Lightning Strike, and then we can play Vivian if this doesn't work out. Okay. 13. Yeah, not quite there. But we can slam with you. Threatening to kill with next turn with the Crassus or the Ranger. Put out a Llanowar Elf. Play tapped. Your turn. And that's the game. The red deck has fallen. Our hand has a lot of interesting cards. It does have a white card without a white source, which is something I expect the deck to run into sometimes. But with Incubation Druid to Jade Light to Biogenic Ooze on the play, I think we can try it. We'll kick it off with the tapped land Breeding Pool, our opponent following with a Forest and a very pretty art Llanowar Elves just bouncing around over here. How you doing? How you doing? What's up? And those arts are very pretty, I must admit. Even though I'm probably not the type to spend money on the cosmetics, I have to give it up when something's lovely. We have two choices, an Incubation Druid to make some extra mana or a Growth Chamber Guardian to become a potential 4/4 next turn. I like going with the Druid because I like having a lot of mana early. I also I know that sometimes it's best to have Guardian when you can plus it right away, but our opponent's gonna play a Steel Leaf Champion, which is a bit of an issue. I could play the Jade Light Ranger and hope it gets big enough to block it, or I could play the Growth Chamber Guardian hoping to grow it later. I'm going to roll with the Jade Light Ranger. I'm also going to play my land first, even though I may hit a shock land and get punished, especially if it's the land I need for Tristani. Because the Incubation Druid can block the Llanowar Elves. Interesting. We don't have a black source. We may have to get our creatures back, though. The Biogenic Ooze, especially, as a card to get back, is very strong. So I'll keep this on top, planning to pair it with Ooze. And we have got a Jade Light Ranger to take on the Steel Leaf Champion. Now, if the opponent attacks, they either have a Trick or they don't have a Ghalta. You don't want to trade away your Steel Leaf Champion with a Jade Light Ranger if you have a Ghalta in your hand. It's an interesting spot. So they have 4 mana available. I think an easy play would be Nullhide Ferox if they play it, but they haven't played Nullhide Ferox. Also, all their creatures are elves. They might be elf tribal. Never mind. Here's a dinosaur in Thrashing Brontodon, and the opponent says go. So they may have a Ghalta. Let's see, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, they would not have been able to play a Ghalta. So Ghalta is definitely what we're scared of the most. Here's a Biogenic Ooze. Let's start oozing it up over here. The bigger these things get, the better our chances against that Ghalta. It is a card that can go wide enough to overpower even the strongest green deck. Again, no Ghalta yet. Maybe they're going to play something into a Ghalta. All right. Untamed Kavu is a 5/5 Vigilance Trample, and the opponent attacks with both. So no Ghalta. At this point, it's best to trade away for the champion and take the 3 damage from the Bronto, because our Ooze tokens will get larger. We have a Deputy of Detention we also can't cast, so we're on 2 cards now that we cannot cast, which is not great. For 4 mana, we could make an Ooze. For 2 mana, we could play a Growth Chamber Guardian and grow it, and have a 4/4 blocker as well, which is great against the Brontodon, and then 2 4/4 blockers from the Ooze tokens. Also, the 2 4/4s can jump in front of the Kavu, and Ooze can block the Bronto, so it's pretty good setup. Let's go ahead and play our Guardian. I could activate it now, or I could activate it later. I don't think it will matter, so I'm just going to activate it later. Our opponent now has 6 mana available with the Llanowar Elf and 5 forests. The Untamed Kavu wishes to attack. So I'm going to pump the Guardian. Again, I don't have to do it right now, but I don't think the timing is going to matter against a mono green deck with no instant speed effects from me. I'm going to offer up an Ooze token and the Growth Chamber Guardian to my opponent. Do you have a pump spell or a way to kill them both? No, they do not. So the Kavu goes to the graveyard, and now there's a Carnage Tyrant as our opponent is still trying to slog through, but we draw what might be the nuts, which is another Biogenic Ooze. So here is another Ooze token. We don't want to attack. At the end of the turn, both Oozes, well, all the Oozes on the battlefield get 2 +1/+1 counters. They're going to be bigger than Carnage Tyrants in no time. So our opponent will need something bigger. Bigger than the Death Lizard itself. They run some Growth Chamber Guardian. And their Growth Chamber Guardian immediately fetches another Growth Chamber Guardian. So we have the War of the Crab People going on here on the CGB YouTube channel today. Off the top of the deck is a Find Finality. Or not a Find Finality, a black source that could cast the Find Finality. But I'm not convinced that's even what I wish to do. I think it's best to make more Oozes. Yes, I'm going to make more Oozes. I'm also going to shock for this land and play another Growth Chamber Guardian and just focus on getting as much power and toughness on the board as possible. Now's not the time to attack, because anything we attack with could die because of the Carnage Tyrant. So let's just grow the board. And the opponent is going to scoop it up The crab people army, the oozes, they want none. This opening hand contains green creatures. Elf, Incubation Druid, Branchwalker, Jade Light Ranger. Hopefully it helps us find the white source we need for the Deputy, as well as some better cards in general. Being on the draw, it's a little bit scary, but I'm going to try it. Our opponent comes out swinging with the white deck. That finality could be a big surprise to our opponent later if we can locate the correct land. So, opening up with Llanowar Elves, the opponent stuck on one land, no attack step at all. I couldn't be much happier about it, to be honest with you. So, 3 mana. We could Jade Light Ranger and dig for more land, or we could Incubation Druid, which is like having a guaranteed extra land next turn, which I like quite a bit. So here's the Incubation Druid, and I don't wish to trade my Elf, so I'm going to hold it back. But if the opponent attacked, I'd consider it. Oh, look, they top-decked another land and hit a Tithe Taker. So here they come. Our opponent might be able to draw out of this yet. I think the right play here, we could go for Elf Central with another Llanowar and another Incubation Druid. But I like playing the Jade Light Ranger and trying to hit land drop for a little while. And there's one land. There's a Growth Chamber Guardian, which against white is okay. I also don't really need more creatures to cast, but it can help me have a very formidable ground presence. And the white deck is a little slow right now, so I should have time to set it up. So I will keep. After some debate, I will keep. And I think we just want the other Incubation Druid. And hopefully very soon we can start chaining them. It's a little frustrating that we still have to find another land for next turn. Here's Benelish Marshal. The opponent could send an attack here, but they choose not to. I think they're more concerned with flipping their landing, even though they've ripped 2 lands in a row now. The rest of their hand should be coming online. I think I like the Growth Chamber Guardian, growing it, and playing another Llanowar Elf. Another route would be to pump up our Incubation Druid to a 3/5 and use it to play a Branchwalker and a Llanowar Elf. A 3/5 Incubation Druid will come in very handy, and it does survive Finality, which is something we may have to set up. But we don't have a black source yet, so that's an important thing to keep in mind. There goes the timer, and I deserve it. I'm definitely thinking a lot, but I think I have a good reason. Let's go with a misplay. Let's go with a misplay. So I meant to tap that for mana and then activate the other one, but instead I grew this Incubation Druid, so I couldn't tap it for 3 mana. That's my bad. That's my bad. That's my fault. Nobody to blame but myself. Anybody who wants to yell about the auto tapper in that situation, I think, is missing the point a little bit. The opponent doesn't want to lose. They want their landing flipped, but they don't want to lose their marshal, so they don't attack anyway. So I'm not punished too hard. And if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, I can play this, and this, and have another 3/5 Incubation Druid ready for next turn. That's pretty strong. So there, we grow that Druid, and you see we just kind of carefully tap into that. Let's play this and see if we hit a land off the top. No thank you. Right, let's give that another try, shall we? Bonus green mana hanging out. Okay, we got a land. I really wanted one of our multicolor lands, as the mana is biting us a bit. And we play a Growth Chamber Guardian, say go. Our board is getting wide and pretty strong. Hydroid Krasis would be an amazing draw. But the Benalias are now flowing. We really need a white source for this Deputy of Detention. The opponent probably doesn't want to trade off their knights or throw anything else at us too much right now because the trades are decent. Oh, it looks like an elephant may be joining the battlefield as well. This is all getting very ugly. Oh, a Conclave Tribunal. And what are you targeting? The Growth Chamber Guardian? Okay. That could be worse. I mean, I don't want my Growth Chamber Guardian gone, but it could have been a lot worse, I think. And wow, right on time. Just in time to keep the Benalia from being pure hell. So it will take out 3 knights off the opponent's side of the battlefield. Now, we could attack. It's wide open. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Put my opponent at 4. They could, they could attack me back and go to 6. But I think that's a really good idea. Do I want to keep anything else back to possibly threaten the Marshal? No. Let's just pressure this opponent so that they can't do their all-in attacks that they want to do. So that they have to be concerned about their life total. They do get a good attack this turn. They have, but they don't get Vigilance for their knights when this goes off. So this taps, this taps. Everything except for this knight taps when it attacks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11, 12. Yeah, I'm not dead. Interesting, though, that the opponent would make this play. And then they concede. Wow. What a lucky top deck we had with the Glacial Fortress, and the Deputy got to prove his worth in the deck. I like this hand. We've got the white mana and the blue mana. Plenty of green, of course. We've got Growth Chamber Guardian to grow, Branch Walker to help us find more stuff, Ooze and Vivian Reed. It's a perfect hand for me, I think. A Llanowar Elf would just put it over the top, of course. Playing Ooze and Vivian early is better than having them in your hand at all. So, OKS 2024, Hydroid Crisis off the top. Do we want to go for the beatdown against an Azorius Guildgate? I think so. If we're against a control deck, we want to pressure them with the Walker immediately. If we're against a gate deck, we need to beat them as quickly as possible. Gate deck it is. Let's start the beatings. We go fetch another Guardian out of the deck and slam for 4. Hopefully next turn Branch Walker can find us a land, or we draw one off the top, and then we can also play another Guardian or an Incubation Druid. It does get a little risky. Gates Ablaze is a powerful magic card, and not one we can do much about, to be honest. We find the land off the top, so this is a big turn. How we play this turn could really have a lot of impact on the rest of the game. I like playing the Branch Walker and the Druid and making the opponent have the Gates Ablaze immediately. If they do, it's a bit tragic, though. So let's send in the Growth Chamber Guardian. And perhaps the right play is a Hydroid Crassus, because if it gets swept up, I still get value, and the opponent's on a 2-turn clock, and I might hit a land. I double my chances to hit a land to play a Biogenic Ooze or a Vivian Reed. So I like a value play like the Crassus here, so I'm not completely destroyed by Gates Ablaze. It's still adding to the board, but if it dies, that's okay. Our opponent's playing some life gain with Revitalize, which I wouldn't have expected. So they seem to be a very anti-aggro Gates build. Gatebreaker Ram is here, and is a very, very large creature. Do I have a way to deal? Not at this time. I could play the Biogenic Ooze and hope that it grows quickly and the opponent cannot find their sweeper. It's too bad that the Ooze also plays right into a Deafening Clarion. I could also play the Vivian Reed. The opponent will most likely attack that down and kill it very easily, which is frustrating. Some other plays include Incubation Druid, Branch Walker. I don't think that those matter very much. Perhaps the right play is another Growth Chamber Guardian that I can pump so that the two of them can block the Ram. And then maybe we can play a Vivian Reed next turn. I'm going to plus it now. The opponent may have instant speed damage-based removal, like a Shock. You just don't know with the Gates decks. Every Gate deck is a little bit different. Crassus gets in the air. And we'll see if our opponent's ready to do some kind of Gates Ablaze nonsense. Thinking about the matchup, it has to be very tough. I think that the only thing we can really do about the Ram is draw our Deputy of Detention. And so far, no go. Also, just hoping that your opponent doesn't have sweepers is pretty frustrating. Okay, there's a Gate Colossus. That's scary, but Vivian Reed can take it out. Oh, we're attacking? I will definitely block. That's a pretty easy block for me to make, I believe. And now Vivian Reed turns this into a full-on tempo swing, which, holy crap, now I get to attack with my Guardian again. I don't think the opponent considered this.
How this thing goes, no one said restoration was painless.
And here comes the pain of restoration. Our opponent falls to 10 life. Let's see if they are ready to recover. We know they can get the Colossus back. That's not a big surprise. At least early on, it's not free yet. The Gross Spiral. Drawing an extra card, putting a land into the battlefield, puts the Colossus on top. We'll see if our opponent has another gate to go with this as well. And there's Gates Ablaze. My creatures are dead. But they did not have another gate, so these are 4 spells. Based on the way they played it, they might have another Gates Ablaze. It seemed like they were trying to set up their creatures so then they could Gates Ablaze and smash me at the same time. If they had a Guild Summit, I think I would have seen that. Alright, so we got black, we've got blue. I could take another Druid. I don't really want the Druid, to be honest, because it dies to sweepers. So I'll take this land instead. We have 7 mana. We can play a Guardian and a Biogenic Ooze, for example, which might draw out another sweeper. We could also get back a Hydroid Crassus with a Find Finality and a Growth Chamber Guardian, but I like getting back an Ooze better if we're going to get something back. So I'm going to play this Biogenic Ooze. And I'm going to use this Branch Walker, I think. I don't think it gets a lot better, whereas Growth Chamber Guardians can still be 4/4s, and I don't want this, so we'll graveyard that and have a better draw next turn. And now we have a board again. It's not quite a lethal board, which is the only thing that Growth Chamber Guardian would have going for it. I could pump the Guardian, minus kill the Colossus and have lethal, but I just thought my opponent had another sweeper. There aren't a lot of other cards that make sense in a hand of this nature. So is that enough mana to replay a Colossus? Okay, well, there's a Ram. And that, of course, is a very frustrating thing. Let's plus the Vivian Reed because there are no targets.
No one knows the wilds like I do.
The Incubation Druids are pretty slow, and the Mana Druids just get eaten up, so I like taking the Branch Walker. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We can find and get back the Crassus to play next turn and the Ooze to play this turn to make some blockers, or at least start building a very threatening board again that the opponent might not have a sweeper for anymore. So let's do this. It does mean that Vivian likely gets attacked to death, brutally. And the opponent gets to make a pretty big board. So it's a bit scary. But then maybe Hydroid Crassus can do some work. Plus, a few turns of the Ooze growing, they might be able to tangle, you know? They might be able to get in there. Never mind. Well, playing around the third sweeper was an option, but not really something that's reasonable.
I always survive.
We're slow tapping. There's the Guild Summit. Oh no. Well, at least our opponent didn't get to draw too many cards. They just got to draw the one. So, how to rebuild? We could try going very, very wide and just play out a whole bunch of creatures to try to attack our opponent down. Also to try to take on the Gatebreaker Ram before it destroys us. We know that a Gate Colossus is coming down next turn though, so the board's going to be ugly. I think we just go for the flyer. Alright. Play this tapped, say go. We've got a lot of fodder to throw onto the battlefield. It's unfortunately, a lot of it can't block the Colossus, and the Ram has like Vigilance and Trample. It's kind of nuts. Rhythm of the Wild. Okay, it's like that. Eats decks without shame. Yeah, no blocks here. Down to 6 life. Facing Trample and something that's very hard to block. Well, that's something. It does put 6 power on the battlefield, so I don't think we can turn that down. What else do we have? I guess we'll try a Jade Light Ranger, see what we reveal. Actually, maybe I should lead on the Ranger, because that might impact which I play. Tough choices. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright. We'll go with the Ooze for sure. Then I think the most toughness possible is this revealing a land playing this. Or we could just play this, and if we reveal the land, we get the Jade Light anyway. The non-shock land, of course. And if we don't, we play the Guardian. I think that's a little bit better. Now, can I attack? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and a block over here as well. It feels like I have to try to attack. I'm dead to another creature. I'm dead to a sweeper anyway. I'm dead to most things. So I can't outgrind the Guild Summit. So I have to play aggressive and try to get there. I don't think I have a lot of other choice in the matter. The opponent could have many things to kill me. We're just hoping to get away with something here. I think that they attack anyway, to be honest. No matter what, you definitely attack. The trades are good. I have to put the Branch Walker in front of the Colossus. I have to put some amount of Ooze and Growth Chamber Guardian in front of the Ram to not die. I can go to 2 and then have the Ooze still around, so I can crank out Ooze tokens. And I can crank out, say, 2 of those. Those are basically, though, 4 mana 3/3s, which isn't amazing by any stretch of the imagination. So this has to be here, this has to be here, this has to be here. Down to 2. Another Hydroid Crassus would really be good. Oh, well, that's another way to do it. And that will be the game. Decent game against Rhythm, Gate, whatever you want to call that. Probably a terrible matchup. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the 4-color green. It could probably use some tuning. I still am not convinced it's better without Wild Growth Walker, but the games against the aggro decks went very well today, so who am I to say? Thank you to Arena Decklist for retweeting it, and to the original poster, whose name, sadly, I've forgotten. But some good news is that we have a War of the Spark booster box giveaway, just like we did with the last giveaway. Flipside Gaming says that whenever you use the promo code CGB on a purchase of $10 or greater between now and May 6th at midnight, that's May 6th at midnight Eastern Standard Time, if you use the promo code CGB and save 10% on an order of $10 or more, you will be entered in a special drawing only for you, viewers of this channel. And when so every time you do that, you get entered in the drawing. And when the drawing occurs, the winner will have shipped to their house a booster box, an entire box, 36 packs, War of the Spark. So, get hyped for that. Please use the promo code CGB at flipsidegaming.com. It supports the channel, and you might win a booster box of War of the Spark. Thank you for watching this video. As always, I will see you in the next video. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, or leave a comment. You can also support the channel on Patreon for special perks. Links are in the description. Our sponsors are hauntedflower.com and flipsidegaming.com. Haunted Flower sells officially licensed MTG apparel and accessories, and Flipside Gaming sells MTG cards and supplies. You can save 10% on either site with the promo code CGB, and it supports the channel at the same time. See you next time for another day in the arena. For now, it's me, it's CGB, signing out.